Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Paris and today we are going to be talking about my fall TBR. Literally tomorrow is the first day of fall, so I wanted to share all the books I plan on reading for the next 3 months. Let's get into it. I'm gonna start with the romance books because my romance list is not very large. Of course, the fantasies that I'm reading typically have a romance element to it, but books that are just strictly romance novels, I'm going to share those first. The first book I have on my list is Mickey Chambers Shakes It Up by Cherish Reed. I'm very intrigued by the storyline. I've heard good things. Of course, it is a Black author, Black characters. So this book is about a woman who's a professor and a man who owns a bar, and he goes back to school. So I believe she's his professor, and from what I have heard, I'm pretty sure she also needs like a second job on the side, and she ends up working at his bar. So she is both his professor and his employee. When I need a palate cleanser in the middle of all my fantasies, this is definitely a book that I want to pick up. Another romance that I have on my list is Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. This is a very popular romance right now. I believe it's a whole like series. First of all, the books are very large, like 800-page romance books. Like that's something that kind of throws me off. I'm okay with long books, but I do find that sometimes if a romance is too long, it can be a lot of like filler scenes and like scenes that just don't really contribute to the plot. From what I've heard, it's still a really good book. We have Johnny and Shannon. Johnny is a rugby player. Shannon is this girl who was severely bullied at an old school, and she ends up transferring to this new school, and Johnny apparently is like this guy that just really looks out for her. That's all I know about that book, but I've just heard really good things, so I'm like, why not? If it's very emotional, I want it. I love books that make me really emotional, so sign me up. Next, we're going to talk about thrillers and mysteries. The last thriller that I read was back in April or March. I'm ready to get back into some juicy thrillers. First, I have Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. I have had this book on my TBR for way too long. I don't even know anything about the plot with this one. 10 years of marriage, 10 years of secrets, and an anniversary they will never forget. I'm really excited to read this one, but I think I'm gonna buddy read this with a friend. Then this is an author that I'm really afraid to get into, but I really am excited as well, which is Riley Sager. This one is The Only One Left by Riley Sager, as I said, and Riley Sager is a very well-known thriller author. His books, from what I've heard, are crazy plot twists, just like Alice Feeney. Actually, I've heard Alice Feeney's books, her plot twists are crazy and so unexpected, but I've heard the exact same thing about Riley Sager, and this is one book that a few people I follow have recently read this and have rated it pretty well. The cover looks really scary, so that's why I'm a little bit nervous. That's another thing about reading thrillers. I'm always worried about how I'm gonna feel in the night. I have no idea what this one's about either. The very first sentence: at 17, Lenora Hope hung her sister with a rope. See, this is what I mean about thrillers. Like, you just have to be really prepared mentally to read some of these thrillers sometimes. Not all of them are this crazy, but this one sounds a little bit wild. Then I also have The Silent Patient, and I don't know how you say this author's name, but I'll have the book here. I think everyone knows about this book. This is about a woman who shoots her husband in the face 5 times and then never speaks another word again. I've had this book on my Kindle for, I kid you not, a whole year, and I haven't picked it up. I need to read this book before the year ends because I've had it on my TBR for way too long. Then I have The Inmate by Frida McFadden, and I have read The Housemaid and I really did enjoy that book, and I've heard a lot of her other books are really good. All of her books are on Kindle Unlimited, and she writes primarily thrillers, if not just all thrillers. We have this girl named Brooke who is a nurse practitioner at a maximum security prison. No one knows about her connection to an inmate at this prison, and that she is the reason that this inmate is in prison as well. And this just sounds so good. I was actually supposed to buddy read this with my friend, and she ended up starting it and finished it in a day, so we never ended up buddy reading it. Next, I have The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Honestly, I have had this book for a while. I think the reason that I've been back and forth with reading it is because the author keeps putting out more and more books. This book, I swear, was originally just supposed to be a trilogy. I could be wrong, but there was this one. I think the second one's called The Hawthorne's Legacy. Then there was The Final Gambit, which final makes you think that this is the end. But then I just saw that recently a 4th book came out called The Brothers Hawthorne. And then I'm like, okay, 4 books. We can do it, but I would have preferred just the 3. And now the author has just announced that there is another book in this series being released next year. I think it's about a girl who received an inheritance from an old man who passes away, but she doesn't even know him. I think there's like this whole game of secret passages and riddles and codes that she has to go through along with these brothers, who I believe are the grandsons of this man. I don't even know. I don't think I'm gonna get through the whole series this year, or even maybe more than 2, but I definitely want to get into it because I've had it for a while. I've had my eye on it for a while. Before I get into the fantasies, I do have one book that's more of like a general fiction. I don't really know what category to put this in, but I have Yellow Wife by Sadika Johnson. I read The House of Eve this month and I loved that book so much. It was so good, and it just really made me want to read the rest of Sadika Johnson's books, and this one is highly rated. From what I know about this book, this woman, she is born on a plantation. I believe her father is a plantation owner and her mother was a slave. One thing the mother asked for her daughter was that she be freed at the age of 18. So instead of being freed, I believe her father sends her to this jail, which is like a place where slaves are tortured and traded. From what I heard, she has to get married to the jailer and all of that. It just sounds like a wild story, and I'm really looking forward to it. I believe this is actually based on a true story. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I heard this is based on a true story. So next we have all of the fantasies that I want to read. I think a lot of these are the first book in series, so I don't know what's going to happen to my TBR. I'm either going to continue reading a lot of the books that I want to read, or I'm gonna get in the middle of a series and then get too distracted by the series and then not pick up other books. And I have so many books that need to be read, so I don't know what's gonna happen. So first we have These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. I was actually gifted this in a giveaway on Instagram by Laura, so thank you, Laura, for this book. I actually didn't even know about it until recently. I had my eye on Chloe Gong's Foul Lady Fortune, and I heard from, I believe, Rachel Catherine mentioned that if you're gonna read that series, to read this one first. So I don't even know what this is about, but I'm gonna read the back. The year is 1926, which we love a good historical fantasy over here, and Shanghai hums to the tune of debauchery. A blood feud between two gangs runs the streets red, leaving the city helpless in the grip of chaos. At the heart of it all is 18-year-old Juliet Kai, a former flapper who has returned to assume her role as the proud heir of the Scarlet Gang, a network of criminals far above the law. Their only rivals in power are the White Flowers, who have fought the Scarlets for generations, and behind every move is their heir, Roma Montagov, Juliet's first love and first betrayal. Okay, so now I think I remember. So I think this is like a Romeo and Juliet retelling. Oh my gosh, I have been dying to read some sort of Romeo and Juliet retelling. Now that I remember what it's actually about, I'm even more excited to read it, and this is 100% on my radar for the fall. There's no way that I'm not reading this before the end of the year. Next, I have Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I've heard so many good things about this book. It's giving the Ballad of the Archer and the Fox, if you know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. From what I've heard, we have the elites and we have the ordinaries. The ordinaries are banished from this kingdom. The main female character, she's an ordinary and she's living amongst the elites, but they don't know. And then we have this prince who is an elite, and he hunts for ordinaries. One crazy thing is this book just recently got published in the UK, I believe in July, and it will be published in Canada and the US in November. So I bought this on Amazon, and Lauren Roberts is only 20 years old. And lastly, and most importantly, we have the Throne of Glass series. So right now I just have Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and Heir of Fire, and I'm in the middle of reading The Assassin's Blade right now. And I've mentioned so many times on my channel, but yes, I'm reading Assassin's Blade first and I'm loving it. I fully intend on finishing the entire series for this fall. I need to finish this series because I need to get into Crescent City. I don't know if that's gonna happen because those books are really big, so that might not happen till January. This is a little bit different from like ACOTAR and the Fae. This is about an assassin, which has been so exciting and I've been loving it so much. I am just ready to dive into more Sarah J Maas. I'm ready to know what everyone's talking about. From what I've heard, it's a full universe, so there's some like connections amongst the books, which I'm scared about but excited about, and I need to know what everyone's talking about. I need to get into it. Those are all the books that I plan on reading for the fall, that are on my radar for the fall, that I need to get through by the end of the year. I think all of these are amazing choices. I'm just so excited. I've been in my fantasy era and have been loving it. It's been so much fun. If you have any of these books on your TBR, please let me know. Or if you've read any of these books, please let me know if you have, if you like them or what you rated them. If you like this video, please don't forget to give it a like. If you're not subscribed, please do not forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.